So, hi everyone. My name is Sam. I started this channel about 2-3 years ago. I don't even know how long ago it was. I think it was 2016 and it's 2019 now, so 9 minus 6 is 3. That would be basic math. Anyways, I started this channel a while ago. I stopped filming. I stopped making videos, stopped posting videos because a lot of things were happening in my life that prevented me from moving forward with this. I had gotten this new job at the time, so the video before this on my channel would explain that, but I need to just explain everything. It's not necessarily going to be interesting to anyone. It's not necessarily going to be something you want to watch or listen to, but I need to do it for myself. I've been putting this off for a long time, and I feel like I finally just need to bite the bullet and do it. So if you had seen that video or any other videos on my channel, I'm just going to start off by saying that I am a completely different person now. So much of my life has changed since I was making videos before. My entire life is completely different. For example, this little girl, she wasn't here before. Her name is Peanut. Say hello. Okay, she's saying goodbye. So the last time I made a video, I was living in a different place with a different person. I was just about to graduate college, so I did graduate and I was about to start this new job and I was really excited for it. Long story short, it ended up being a awful job for several reasons. It ended up being a door-to-door sales job and I hated it. To drive about an hour there in the morning and an hour there at night, and I was literally walking around neighborhoods trying to sell cable and internet from like 11 or 12 in the afternoon till like 7 o'clock at night, walking around neighborhoods that were very far away from home. Unless I was being trained or I was training someone else, I was by myself. And it was during the summer, so it was really, really hot outside. That was basically the bottom line of the job, was selling cable and internet. And going into it, I didn't realize that that's what it was going to be. And of course, in those types of jobs, they don't tell you right off the bat that that's what it's going to be like. But they disguised that kind of work and how awful it was with the idea that with perseverance and continuing on with the job for a very long time, or however long, a couple years or so, that you could become this millionaire and you could go to all of these cool events and over time you would become your own boss, you would have your own company, you'd make lots of money, and then you'd be able to make your own schedule. And there was a lot of training that went into it, and in the trainings they really hyped you up, they motivated you, inspired you, told you to, focus on your goals, and there's a lot of stuff about the law of attraction, which I was very into at the time. So all of that kind of disguised what it really was, which was a door-to-door sales job, and I only lasted a couple of months at that job. It's really difficult for me to sit in front of a camera and talk about this. And I don't know if it's because the camera's in my face, or it's because I'm talking to myself, or it's because this story is just really hard for me to tell. The last time I was making videos, I was engaged, and I am no longer with that person, and I'm not unhappy about that. There were a lot of things with that relationship that weren't right, that were toxic to me, at least. And I thought, for my own health, for my own happiness, I needed to get out of that toxic situation. And I'm not going to go into detail about it because I could go on and on about it. But it ended up being a very toxic relationship. I was unhappy, and so we ended up breaking up. It was a very messy breakup, and it just goes to show that it wasn't right to begin with, the way that it ended. So that relationship ended. I was glad that it ended. It was bittersweet because I did care about that person, but it wasn't right. So I am glad that that ended, and I don't regret that decision to end that relationship. So I'm no longer with that person. I'm no longer living in that apartment, obviously. And with that horrible job that I started, I ended up meeting someone else. I guess in a way it was kind of a rebound, but in another way it was, in my opinion, not a rebound at all, because even to this day, the person that I had met at that job, I still to this day felt like it was completely different from any other person I had ever met in my life. And I felt like I had truly found my soulmate. It was like realizing that every person you had ever gone out with before was so not right for you, and seeing this person, I just thought that everything made sense, that that's why all the previous relationships I had had, not that I had had that many, had ended. I understood why all that had happened, because I thought that all of that had led me to this person. Everything seemed to make sense about it, and I was head over heels for this person. It was a very intense situation, but unfortunately that ended up ending in a bad way as well. We were together for a short amount of time, but while I was experiencing it, it felt like I had known that person forever. It felt like we had been together forever, and it was, to my knowledge, a mutual feeling, but unfortunately it was short-lived, and I came to realize that that person was narcissistic, manipulative, hurtful. I did end up getting cheated on, which, as far as I know, it was the first time I had ever been cheated on before in my life. And suddenly everything that I thought, like just as I thought everything was starting to make sense, it all came crashing down again. So in a very short span of time, I went through two very traumatic breakups, and it was extremely difficult for me, not to mention the horrible job I was at simultaneously. While I was at the job, it was my own fault, but I ended up getting scammed out of the money that I made there. It was my own fault, and it was a lesson that I have learned since then, but I got scammed out of money while I was at that job, and I won't explain that because I just don't want to go into it, but 2 breakups, I was scammed out of money. I was extremely unhappy. I had started living with my parents again. I ended up quitting that job, and it was hard because, like I said, they put all these ideas into our heads about how we could have this amazing future, we could build such a great life and have money and live kind of like a rich, lavish lifestyle, and they really made us believe that that was possible. And I got to go on a trip to New Orleans and went to this amazing event. It was kind of like a fundraiser award type thing. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was in New Orleans, and that was the first time I had ever really gotten to travel that wasn't for like school or something. like, above everything else that had happened, that was one of the great things that happened to me there. And I thought if I had stayed with that job, that I would get to travel more. One of my main desires in life is to travel, so that was very appealing to me, to be able to travel. So it was hard for me to give that up. So this is kind of going all over the place, but I broke off an engagement. I had a horrible new job. I got scammed out of money. I met a new person that I felt I had fallen in love with, and that made everything previously make sense. And then I got cheated on, and that relationship went in the toilet. I quit the horrible job, went back to living with my parents, went back to my old part-time job working at a gas station. It was the worst summer of my life, the most traumatic summer of my life. I went to a very, very dark place at that point in my life. I think that was the most depressed I had ever been, and that's including my darkest times when I was in middle school and high school, which is a whole other story. But it was so bad. I was in such a bad place mentally and emotionally. I had barely any money to my name. I could barely pay any of my bills. I was extremely unhappy, extremely heartbroken, devastated. I felt worthless. I felt like I kept striking out. I couldn't keep a healthy relationship. I couldn't find a healthy relationship. I barely had any friends. I wasn't a student anymore, and for so long my identity revolved around being a student, and I wasn't a student anymore. I had no idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, or how I was going to move forward. I was so depressed. I wasn't really eating very much. And with that sales job where I was walking around every single day, I had lost 20, 30 pounds just from walking around for like 7-8 hours a day in the heat. So I had lost a bunch of weight, and then after everything that happened, I was so depressed. I wasn't really eating very much. So I was actually at like my lowest weight. I was very small at that time, which is, I mean, I wasn't unhealthy. It wasn't like I was starving myself or anything, which I know is a sensitive issue. Trust me. But I'm just saying it was very unusual behavior for me. And I don't really remember what happened after that. I had a very rough summer. I continued to live with my parents while, sorry, that was my sock. I was taking my socks off. While I was working at my old part-time job, I met this one guy. He came into the gas station periodically to get the same stuff, and I was always the cashier, so he would see me. He ended up asking me out, and I honestly wasn't really into him at all, but I was in such a bad place that I didn't care. I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to have some positive social interaction. So I ended up going out with this person. Looking back, he was completely wrong for me as well. There was no seriousness about it. This situation is what I would consider a rebound. It was definitely a rebound situation. But that didn't last long. And I didn't feel good about myself after being with that person, because I knew that it wasn't right for me. I just was in so much pain. At the time I needed it to get over things that had happened. So yes, it was a rebound, but I don't know what I'm saying. After many months, a man approached me at this part-time job. He gave me an envelope with a letter in it, and he said he was hiring for a sort of customer service position at his company. And he said that he had seen me interacting with customers while at my current job at the time, and he said I seemed like the perfect person for the job. That day it felt like a light at the end of the tunnel, like finally something good came through. I ended up applying for that job, getting an interview, and I did end up getting that job. It was kind of like a receptionist customer service job, so it wasn't anything extravagant or nice, but it was exactly what I needed at the time. I needed something stable and normal, like a 9 to 5. It was 8 to 5 actually, but that was what I needed. I was at that job for 6 months. It was extremely boring. I barely did anything all day except sit at a computer and check people in, that kind of a thing. Fill the copier with paper, make coffee, stuff like that. So it was not a good job for me. I mean, it was a good job, but it wasn't what I wanted in life. It wasn't like an end game type of job. It was just something to get me by. So it was exactly what I needed at the time, but I still wasn't happy. So I am very grateful to this day for the guy that approached me and hired me. He was extremely nice and kind to me, very helpful, and he always was looking out for me while I was at that job. It helped me kind of build my savings back up, helped me to kind of get out of the rut that I was in. And once I was finally kind of moving past everything that had happened, I just realized it was about time that I sought something more and a better job, more aligned with what I went to school for. So I did quit that job, and I guess to rewind a little bit, I was so lonely while I was at that job. Pretty much lost everyone that I had gotten close to for the past 2 years, so I was very lonely, and I did kind of experiment with Tinder, but not for the reasons most people do. I was really just looking for someone to talk to, some kind of companionship, maybe go on a date or something like that. I had a few, well, not a few, maybe like 1 or 2 weird, bad experiences that were very discouraging. While I was working at this job, I met someone who lived down the street from the company. That was kind of the turning point in my life, and that person is the person I'm with today. I don't understand why this is so uncomfortable for me to talk about. After I quit that job, I ended up getting a job as a mental health case manager. So this was last April 2018. I got a job as a case manager, and I was so excited about this job because it was finally something to do with mental health, and I went to school for psychology, so it was finally something that aligned with what I was passionate about. Unfortunately, it ended up being another job that I was very unhappy about. It was the most stressful experience I'd ever gone through. Extremely burnt out, mentally and emotionally. I was neglecting myself, very anxious and depressed. So I was at that job for about a year, which brings us to now. I quit that job about 2 weeks ago because I was in such a bad place. And now I have been jobless for about 2 weeks. And I have spent this time kind of soul searching and trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I'm still at a loss. I'm still with the same person. We've been together for about 1.5 years. This November it'll be 2 years. I'm very happy in my current relationship. I love the person that I'm with, but this isn't about relationships. And that's kind of what I always thought that it was about. Growing up, I thought that finding love, falling in love, finding a happy, healthy relationship was going to be kind of the answer to everything. I think maybe that's why I got into so many unhappy situations, because I was just searching for the wrong thing. Now I'm with someone that I'm very happy with, truly. And he makes me very happy. He's very kind. I am now at a point in my life where I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, who I am, what's going to happen next. I'm feeling very lost. While I've been trying to figure things out, I feel like I've been stuck in a rut. I've hit a wall. So I've been trying to do all these different things to get me out of that rut. I've started going back to the gym. I've been trying to eat healthier, take a lot of time for self-care, do things that make me happy. Through everything, I've just gotten, like I said, I'm still at a place where I'm just stuck. I don't know what the issue is, but there are a lot of things that I have been meaning to do or telling myself I should do, and I don't have the slightest bit of motivation to do any of those things. I'm feeling so unmotivated. Like I have no direction. I'm not headed anywhere in particular. I'm just kind of like floating in space with no intention of a direction. Like I don't know what's going on. I'm so lost. I don't want to jump into another job with all of the horrible experiences that I've had. I can't do the same things that I've been doing. I have to do something different. Something has to change because I don't want history to keep repeating itself. I have been so unhappy up until this point, and although I'm happy in my relationship, me as a person, I'm very unhappy. I'm so dissatisfied with my life, and I don't know what it is. I'm trying so hard to find the root of the problem, and I still can't figure it out, but I needed to give myself a kick in the ass. I need to just stop overthinking everything, stop analyzing everything to death, get out of my own head, and work through some of the things that are going on with me. I need to actually deal with the things that are going on with me on the inside. And even though I've thought everything to death, I feel like maybe I need to actually talk about them. I need to actually work on them in a way, like an action, not just thinking about it. So I decided to start filming some videos, and honestly, I've done a couple trial runs and I feel so uncomfortable. I know I probably look like crap. My hair doesn't look good. I don't look anything like I thought I would look like on camera, and I'm so out of practice. I don't know what this is going to look like. I know no one probably even cares to watch this, but I know that I'm not going to get anywhere if I don't start somewhere. So all in all, I feel like this video was mainly for me, but if you watched it, thank you. And maybe you could have learned something from this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to start here. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to change some things about my life, and hopefully it'll change for the better. So if you have any suggestions or requests, please let me know, and I'll be happy to explore those. And I think that's about it for now. This is a starting point for me. I'm going to start all over. I'm going to work my way up from the bottom because it feels like I'm at a rock bottom personally. And hopefully some of you guys will want to take that journey with me. So thank you for watching if you did. And I'll see you in the next video.